Not many games I can say fit into my top 5 favorite games. That is because there can only be 5. That's why it's called a top 5. But Modern Warfare. No, I didn't say Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, I just said Modern Warfare. As I was saying, Call of Duty Modern Warfare is, in my opinion, the best Call of Duty game to come out, and is my favorite game of all time, beating Star Wars Battlefront 2 by just a little. I got so hyped for the game when the reveal trailer dropped of Captain Price, and I pre-ordered the Precision Ed Edition, which was my first pre-order ever, by the way. I'm still kicking myself in the butt for not getting the Dark Ed Edition with the night vision goggles. When the multiplayer dropped, I thought that it would just be another boring multiplayer that I'm not into, but I have to admit, the trailer got me hooked. It's 2022, and I'm still rewatching the multiplayer trailer. So, why have I placed a game like this, an annual game at that, up onto the throne of my number 1 most favorite video game? Well, let's get into it. Let's start with the worst part of the game, the co-op. Now, I might not have been there at launch, but I was there about a month after the game dropped, and the missions were impossible to finish unless everyone had a microphone and knew exactly what to do. The enemies were ruthless. When you respawned, you had the ammo you died with, and the exact amount that was in your clip before you died. The missions were harder than doing the campaign on realism difficulty, and I've beaten a realism difficulty. I only was able to complete one mission because I just happened to get matched with someone who claimed to be a real-life veteran. I'm going to believe that guy because based on what he told us to do when entering a newsroom, we pretty much cleared it like professionals. A few months later, they finally patched the mess that was co-op. And while it was still hard, if you knew what to expect and stuck to your squad, you could get through it. While the big missions were fixed, the smaller and shorter ones were and are still hard to complete. What stinks is that there is content locked behind completing these shorter missions that only have one difficulty. The same thing happens with the longer missions, but since they're playable, I'm fine with that. Now, I want to say is that every player should be rocking the medic field upgrade because in tight situations, you will want to be reviving a teammate in a couple of seconds rather than like 5 or however long it takes. Before jumping into the action, you can create your loadout. Use points previously earned to buy different items to help you during the mission. Each of these longer missions continues the story started in the campaign. Now, I didn't really follow the story too much. We stopped some stuff from happening, blew up some stuff, rescued a man, and stuff. I'm sure the story there is interesting, but I don't think it was told in an interesting manner. Yeah, gunfights are cool and all, but having most of the conversations happening between important characters over the radio or whatever, and not seeing the person speaking, that just feels like lazy storytelling. Lazy storytelling, lazy attention from me towards your story. I don't think there was any story to the smaller missions, which I'm fine with because of how awful those missions are. One neat thing you can do during the longer missions is find intel that gives a little background to the different operators in Modern Warfare. It's not much, but it's something interesting that builds the Modern Warfare story. The survival was delayed for Xbox One and PC by an entire year, and it was a downgrade compared to the survival on Advanced Warfare and Modern Warfare 3. The basic elements are there, but it feels boring to play, and getting to a high level is more of a chore than is an accomplishment.
Reloading!
I don't want to say that the story is the best story told in Call of Duty, because I'd reserve that for Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops, Black Ops 2, and Advanced Warfare. But the campaign overall has some of the best moments and gimmicks in the franchise. The story isn't bad at all. It's great. We're not continuing the story from Modern Warfare 3, but instead doing a reboot of the story with some of our favorite characters. Captain Price is looking the youngest he's ever looked, looking younger than he did in Call of Duty 2. We meet Kyle, who isn't a new character, but one we've seen in the original game, which we find out at the end when Price calls him Gaz. We see Nikolai at the end of the game. Griggs shows up, and don't worry, this man doesn't die this time. We also see Makarov at the end of the game, which is a nice touch and a nod to the fans of the original trilogy. There are also new characters that we meet, like Barkov, a Russian general, Alex, who might not be new, but some people theorize that he is Roach from Modern Warfare 2. Farah and Hadir are new, and they're siblings. The story of the campaign revolves around terrorism and the Russian occupation of the fictional country Urkistan. Some known people at the beginning steal a special gas from the United States, who were already stealing the special gas from the Russians. Later in London, Kyle is with a team to stop a plausible terrorist plot, which goes terribly wrong, partly because of the rules of engagement. Kyle meets Price and almost die together. Alex, the only survivor from the theft at the beginning of the story, meets up with Farah and Hadir, and they team up to fight the Russians that were occupying Urkistan. Basically, how the story goes on from here is Price, Kyle, and Alex and Farah hunt down someone that is known as the Wolf, who is making Urkistan look bad because they've been taking responsibility of terrorist attacks. He also might be connected to the special gas theft. The Wolf is rescued and killed. Hadir exposes himself as the person who stole the gas, which makes him a very wanted person by both Russia and the United States. Price and Kyle try to race Russia in finding Hadir and the rest of the special gas. Kyle and Price find him and take him to a rendezvous point, only for the United States and Russia to make a deal in the background that involved handing Hadir over to Russia. Price then goes after Barkov with Farah, Kyle, and Alex, killing Barkov and destroying his chemical factory, where the special gas came from. The actions of Barkov were disavowed by Russia, and I assume that the Russian occupation over Urkistan ended since Farah went home with Nikolai. The game ended in a bang. The last part before the story continues in the co-op, Price is with Laswell, discussing names that are familiar to old players of the Call of Duty campaigns. And then the Special Task Force is given a name.
What are you calling this task force?
141.
The motives of the different characters are clear, or mostly so. Barkov wanted to stop terrorism. The Wolf, Farah, and Hadir all wanted Barkov out of their country. The Wolf went to extreme lengths, but for some reason he went after London. Why London? Hadir wanted to be more extreme with kicking Barkov off their land than Farah wanted to be. Alex wanted to just track down the gas, but was dragged into a fight that the US Army and the CIA didn't want to get involved in, so he went AWOL. Kyle wanted to stop terrorists before something could happen. He just wanted to
Just take the bloody gloves off and fight.
And Price was someone who wanted to just do the right thing and be a mentor to Kyle. The campaign was filled with amazing moments and missions. The most iconic mission to me was Clean House, where you play as Kyle and join Price to clean out a home filled with terrorists. But not everyone is a terrorist, so taking the shot is not always the wisest thing to do. Then there is Going Dark, an entire mission where you can walk around a large open area with little restriction and look for 3 people who will help lead you to Hadir. You can shoot out the lights to conceal your location. There is an armored vehicle that patrols the area with a spotlight that you can avoid, or you can even take out the gunner. Some individual moments that stuck out were like the boss fight with the Juggernaut. It is a challenge on realism difficulty, but something beatable. Another one is when you're close to finding the wolf and go through a home to find him, only to learn that he is underground. Then during the embassy, there were several moments, like when you talked to Stacy over the phone and lead her to safety, or when you lit up the night to expose the enemy that is approaching.
Got movers back in the field.
Or when you're given a laser pointer to make the cat attack the mice. There were plenty of other good moments, but what helped make many of these moments stick out so much is the AI and the setting. One thing that was hyped up before the launch was the AI, because it got an overhaul. Now enemies will react to gunshots beyond turning around and shooting. Now some AI will hide, crawl under beds, pretend to be sick, and even die in slow and painful deaths. Yes, they still do possess the traditional AI that you've seen in most Call of Duty games, but for the new programming seen mainly in close quarter combat is where you will notice it the most. AI even react when you knock out the lights by investigating the source. When you're trying to direct Stacy to safety, you can distract the enemies by turning on different electronics. It's a welcome touch. The environment is also a highlight of the game. Unfortunately, this applies to only night missions, but you can knock out the light sources to conceal your location as you run around with night vision goggles on. Doors are destructible, but they react to where you shoot them. Shoot the door handle can no longer be latched. Shoot the bottom right now has a hole. You can also bash the door in two. Now, Modern Warfare is over the top, somewhat realistic fun. You will witness the military's might. You see chemical warfare and how it affects people. Terrorism is on display. All other things in the campaign I can see happening in real life. The Butcher is shown killing a father and his son. Nothing is too far-fetched that I saw that I can think of. The story tries to teach you a lesson if you didn't catch it. Sometimes doing the right thing means doing bad things to bad people. Kyle is upset that the rules he was given prevented him from preventing the attack on London. Captain Price shows Kyle that removing the rules or taking the gloves off
You want the gloves off? They're off.
means getting dirty and doing things to people that are illegal. War is war, and sometimes putting out a fire means starting another one. The main complaints I have about the campaign is just 2 things. First off, why didn't we get DLC missions for the single player? This game was way too short. Secondly, the tactical sprint was in everything except for the campaign. I often needlessly spam click the left joystick on my controller trying to go faster.
All right.
When I think of video games, most time I don't consider multiplayer. I am more of a single player guy with a slight interest in multiplayer unless I can play it by myself. The only games I played where I could say that I liked the multiplayer aspect enough to sink many days into it would be Star Wars Battlefront 2, Halo Combat Evolved, Ultimate Chicken Horse, Plasma Burst 2, Modern Combat 5 Blackout, and Call of Duty Black Ops 2. When Modern Warfare was first announced, I was excited for just a campaign and the other side mode that is usually co-op. But when I saw that trailer for Modern Warfare's multiplayer, I got hyped for the first time ever. I like music videos, and a big part of my childhood was watching Star Wars The Clone Wars AMVs. So when the multiplayer dropped with lots of action and a track that energized me, I was hooked. That is how Vanguard got me hyped, only to be disappointed. When I got the game at first, I was ready to put it in, skip the 80 gigabyte update, and just play the campaign. To my unfortunate surprise, I could only play a demo version. I played the demo twice over and had mixed thoughts about it. So I handed it to a friend from church, the copy of my game with a hard drive, and asked him to update the game for me since he had an Xbox One with great internet. Later, I went to the friend's apartment, and with a few other friends, we played the game a lot. When I say a lot, we spent like 6 or more hours playing that game in just one day. It was beautiful, but after we got done, I thought I only enjoyed the multiplayer so much because I was with friends. So, when I got the game back and played it on my console, I didn't bother playing the multiplayer until I got bored with the campaign, and I couldn't resolve an issue with the co-op that prevented me from playing the co-op. When I started playing the multiplayer, I fell in love. I love the complexity of the maps. Map design is not only visually appealing, but I can't think of a single bad map. The one with the bridge that everyone seems to hate, I love it. The shipment DLC map, I love it more. Maps are made well with lots of different ways to get around them, and lots of places to shoot or get shot from. Maps are also very diverse visually. We have desert maps, industrial maps, city maps, and more. The developers knew what they were doing. Custom classes, amazing. Each perk has a point. I generally like to have the perk that allows me to have one less kill for kill streaks. I also love the overkill perk so that I can run around with protection in the form of a riot shield on my back. I don't do it often anymore, but it's something you can do. The gunsmith allows you to add up to 5 attachments onto most of your weapons. And there are a lot of attachments, each that looks good and fits in with the time period, unlike Vanguard. I made a mistake in my Vanguard review when I said that it's hard to make an ugly gun in Modern Warfare. It actually isn't that hard. It's when you put a sniper scope on a shotgun. On top of the gunsmith, you can use blueprints that you earned or bought that give you a certain amount of attachments and a skin that can't be earned through weapon progression. What's cool about weapon unlocks are that everything transfers into Warzone. When it comes to the controls, it's pretty much what you'd expect from Call of Duty except for the D-pad. One button allows you to use kill streaks, another changes the rate of fire, another one allows you to use gestures and spray people. The last one, the only one that is really important, is the button that lets you examine your weapon. I never realized how much I wanted this until this game. It isn't much, but it shows off your gun. This is really nice when you have a blueprint that you want to see. Yes, you can see it in the gunsmith with a black background and rotate it, but having your character interact with it looks cooler. Game modes are typical, and you got stuff from basically every Call of Duty game since its conception. But the one they added was Ground War, a way to impede on Battlefield's multiplayer. And Call of Duty does 32v32 better than DICE ever could. You got vehicles to help get around, squads to help with respawning in different parts of the map. And if a team controls every point in the map, then a nuke will go off to end the game early. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does, it's awesome and nobody can complain if they lost, because they lost in an epic way. Personally, my favorite playlist is either 10v10 modes, Shoot the Ship, or Shipment Extended. Shipment is my favorite map because of the chaos, but 10v10 is always loads of fun with the amount of players running around. Kill streaks are great, except for the shield turret. I've only seen one player get the Juggernaut suit, and I myself have never gotten it. The need to see your target is a cool concept. The only issue is that the time for some kill streaks to reach its destination is too long. The story that the multiplayer tells is shared with Warzone in its first year. It tells little fragments of what happened after the campaign. That's where we find out Alex is still alive, Ghost is back with an epic voice.
Price. Something's wrong in Verdansk.
And we meet new characters with their own backstories. What makes this even better is that you can play as each of these operators. One addition that was made to every part of the game, but I think mainly targets the multiplayer, are the finishers. There are a lot of ways to execute people, some silly, some brutal, and some that are just clean kills. The only thing that stinks about finishers is that they take long enough time to allow other players to kill you or to kill the person that you're killing. Because Modern Warfare set the trend for future Call of Duty games, all DLC maps are free, but the store is filled with bundles that you can buy with in-game currency or real-world money. While I think that most bundles are overpriced, they are the fairest that the franchise has seen, more fair than anything with loot boxes. I'm mostly looking at you, Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4. The bundles straight up tell you what you are getting, and that is all we asked for, to know exactly what we are buying. I remember playing Modern Combat 5, and I don't want to say how much money I spent, but I spent a lot of money on loot boxes when the class weapon progression went to blueprints, and I didn't unlock a single weapon. At that moment, I realized that loot boxes are worse than I ever thought. So, with Modern Warfare telling you what you are buying, that is the best way to go to keep monetary transactions fair. Games like Fortnite started the trend of cross-progression, and as much as I don't like Fortnite, the game has set trends and done good things. And the cross-progression feature is one of the good things Modern Warfare picked up. But not only do unlockables work in just Modern Warfare, but they also work in Warzone, which, as most of us know, has stuff in it from Modern Warfare, Black Ops Cold War, and Vanguard. And it probably will have some Modern Warfare 2 content until Warzone 2 drops. What's great about the cross-progression is that if I owned 2 or more different copies of Modern Warfare on different platforms, then I can access all of my stuff on each system, with a slim few exceptions.
Then keep them out.
I think that the operators are better than the heroes from previous games. Operators are equal when it comes to how they play, in theory. The only times when operators are not equal are when some skins have a tactical advantage. Grinch, Ghost, and Rose all have skins that pose a tactical advantage because depending on the map, you can better hide. I usually like rocking Grinch and Ghost in multiplayer because they look like a walking bush. Good for enemies who quickly look around. The sad part about this, though, is that some skins and operators will be completely locked away from new players or older players because they either didn't buy the season pass or play the game. So, operators like Captain Price cannot be used.
3 seconds.
The game is awesome. There is hardly any criticism that I can give about it except for the need to update the game in order to even play the solo part. That is terrible by design, and it never should have shipped like that. It's not perfect, but the bad is insignificant and not enough to hurt the score that I'll give the game. The campaign, a near masterpiece with a few flaws, but was too short. The co-op started out rough, but got better to the point where it is acceptable. The multiplayer, though, was the absolute best part of the game that did about everything perfectly. Overall, I give this game a 9 out of 10. While I say this is my favorite game ever, there are some games that would reach a 10 out of 10 in my eyes, but this was a special game to me. Thanks for watching. If you like and subscribe, then Captain Price might become real. I don't know how it'd happen, but Captain Price might one day walk out of the screen and start fighting real-world wars. So do it, so you can increase the odds. And if you share this video, then I guess you just shared it, that's all. If you're not a member already, then please become one. It only costs 99 cents a month. That's less than a hamburger off the dollar menu per month. Thank you for watching, and God bless you. And God bless America. This is Skippi Skip, skipping on out of here.
You broken?
I'm good.
Echo 3-1 primary extraction failed. We're down on the roof. Understood.